Welcome to the first edition of Kevin Comtois' Social and Political History of American Music. For the next 30 minutes, I'm going to bring you information and music from 1965, specifically the Newport Folk Festival and Bob Dylan's influence in changing the face of American music. So sit back, relax, and let me do all the talking. No one should have been surprised when Bob Dylan shocked the world by playing electric music at the Newport Folk Festival in the summer of 1965. In fact, his music had already been changing, been becoming more introspective, moving away from the topical songs such as Blowin' in the Wind and The Times They Are A-Changin'. In fact, his songs were even being turned into electric rock and roll music. Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan, which was released on his album March 22nd, 1965. The album titled Bringin' It All Back Home was actually turned into a #1 hit by the Byrds, reaching #1 the week of June 26th of 1965. So when people gathered in July of 1965 in the small, sleepy town of Newport, Rhode Island, no one should have been surprised at the change that Bob Dylan was going to make. So here is Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning, I'll come following you. Though I know that evening's empire has returned into sand, vanished from my hand, left me blindly here to stand, but still not sleeping. My weariness amazes me, I am branded on my feet. I have no one to meet, and the ancient empty streets too dead for dreaming. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning, I'll come following you. Take me on a trip upon your magic swirling ship. My senses have been stripped, my hands can't feel to grip, my toes too numb to step. Wait only for my boot heels to be wandering. I'm ready to go anywhere, I'm ready for to fade into my own parade. Cast your dance and spill my way, I promise to go under it. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning, I come following you. Though you might hear laughing, spinning, swinging madly across the sun, it's not aimed at anyone, it's just escaping on the run. And but for the sky, there are no fences facing. And if you hear vague traces of skipping reels of rhyme to your tambourine in time, it's just a ragged clown behind. I wouldn't pay it any mind. It's just a shadow you're seeing that he's chasing. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning, I come following you. take me disappearing through the smoke rings of my mind, down the foggy ruins of time, far past the frozen leaves, the haunted, frightened trees, out to the windy beach, far from the twisted reach of crazy sorrow. Yes, to dance beneath the diamond sky with one hand waving free, silhouetted by the sea, circled by the circus sands, with all memory and fate driven deep beneath the waves. Let me forget about today until tomorrow. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning, I come following you.
Pete Seeger, who was instrumental in the Newport Folk Festivals. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. But he was actually with Bob Dylan in 1964 when he debuted Mr. Tambourine Man at the Afternoon Workshop. You can see in some videos of the Newport Folk Festival Pete Seeger tapping his feet and listening to the song. But he's probably wondering what the song actually meant, because previous songs by Bob Dylan had serious topical messages. This one, if there was a topical message, it was certainly hidden within the music. And here is the Byrds' version of Mr. Tambourine Man, released 1965, reaching number 1 the week of June 26th, 1965. By the summer of 1965, Bob Dylan had already released one rock and roll album, Bringing It All Back Home, which included rock hits such as Subterranean Homesick Blues and Maggie's Farm, but he was also working on Highway 61 Revisited. It was finally released in at the end of August of 1965, not long after the Newport Folk Festival in Newport, Rhode Island. On that album were songs such as Like a Rolling Stone, Takes a Lot to Laugh, which he would perform at the 1965 Folk Festival, along with Maggie's Farm, that was on Bringing It All Back Home. So here is Bob Dylan, the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, minus Butterfield himself, and Michael Bloomfield jamming out Maggie's Farm at the Newport Folk Festival 1965.
ready for. I ain't gonna work for Maggie's more no more.
As soon as the performance began, things started to go crazy out in the audience and backstage. People out in the audience had many different types of reactions. Some people were booing because they didn't like the electric music. Some people were yelling, "Turn the volume down." Some people were screaming because the sound quality wasn't very good. So there were a lot of different types of reactions out in the audience. If you listen to some video that is available, you can actually hear some of the booing and some of the screaming. Backstage, it was also chaos. Pete Seeger, very well known for being involved in the Newport Folk Festivals, hated the sound. He had been seen out in the back, walking back and forth. His father, Charlie, was so upset he couldn't hear. He was putting hands over his head because it was so loud. There were so many rumors going on backstage that Pete Seeger was going to cut the electric cord. He never did any such thing. Later on, Pete had given in interviews that he had mentioned that if he had an axe, he would have cut the cord, but he tried to do no such thing. He did no such thing. What he tried to do was go to the soundboard and tell them to turn it down. And according to Seeger, the people working the soundboard said, "That's the way he wants it. That's the way Bob Dylan wants it." So Pete Seeger didn't know what to do. He was besides himself, pacing back and forth, thinking about his father, Charlie, who at that time was an old man, and of course thinking about the quality of this folk festival. And this certainly wasn't really folk music, although it certainly was from the folk. After the performance of Maggie's Farm, Dylan and the Butterfield Blues Band went into "It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry," and then ended their rock and roll set with "Like a Rolling Stone." That's right, ended their rock and roll set with "Like a Rolling Stone." Only 3 songs. In fact, those are the only 3 songs that they had prepared to play. So here's the official release of "Like a Rolling Stone," recorded between May and August of 1965 and released August 30th of 1965, reaching number 2 on the charts the week of September 4th, 1965.
Once upon a time you dressed so fine, threw the bumps of dime in your prime. Then people call, say beware doll, you're bound to fall. You thought they were all kidding you. You used to laugh about everybody that was hanging out. Now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't seem so proud about having to be scrounging your next meal. How does it feel? How does it feel to be without a home? Like a complete unknown, like a rolling stone. used in it. Nobody's ever taught you how to live out on the street, and now you're gonna have to get used to it. You say you never compromise with a mystery tramp, but now you realize he's not selling any alibis as you stare into the vacuum of his eyes and say, do you want to make a deal? How does it feel? How does it feel to be on your own with no direction home? A complete unknown, like a rolling stone. Ah, you never turned around to see the frowns on the jugglers and the clowns when they all did tricks for you. Never understood that it ain't no good. You shouldn't let other people get your kicks for you. You used to ride on a chrome horse with your diplomat, who carried on his shoulder a Siamese cat. Ain't it hard when you discover that he really wasn't where it's at? After he took from you everything he could steal. How does it feel? How does it feel to have you on your own with no direction home, like a complete unknown, like a rolling stone? Ah, princess on the steeple and all the pretty people, they're all drinking, thinking that they got it made, exchanging all precious gifts. But you better take your diamond ring, you better pawn it, babe. You used to be so amused at Napoleon in rags and the language that he used. Go to him now, he calls you, you can't refuse. When you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose. You're invisible now, you got no secrets to conceal. How does it feel? Ah, how does it feel to be on your own with no direction home, like a complete unknown, like a rolling stone?
After performing those three songs, the band unplugged and went backstage. The crowd went wild. You can hear the boos, you can hear the screams, you can hear the applause. It absolutely went wild. Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary was the MC of the event. He actually had to come out and calm the audience down, telling them that Bob Dylan would come out and we'll do another song. He said that Bob Dylan had to get himself an axe, an acoustic guitar, and come out and play some more songs. You can see him turning and looking backstage and begging, asking Bob Dylan, please come out and do another song. After a few moments of confusion, Dylan did collect himself an acoustic guitar, and he performed 2 songs. He performed Mr. Tambourine Man and It's All Over Now, Baby Blue.
You must leave now, take what you need, you think will last. But whatever you wish to keep, you better grab it fast. He understands your orphan with his gun, crying like a fire in the sun. Look out, the saints are coming through, and it's all over now, baby blue. The highway is for gamblers, better use your sense. Take what you have gathered from coincidence. The empty-handed painter from your streets is drawing crazy patterns on your sheets. The sky too is folding under you, and it's all over now, baby blue. All your seasick sailors, they're all rowing home. Your empty-handed army is all going home. Your lover who just walked out the door has taken all his blankets from the floor. The carpet too is moving under you, and it's all over now, baby blue. Leave your stepping stones behind, there's something that calls for you. Forget the dead you've left, they will not follow you. The vagabond who's rapping at your door is standing in the clothes that you once wore. Strike another match, go start anew, and it's all over now, baby blue.
Rock and roll was never the same after Bob Dylan's performance at the Newport Folk Festival in the summer of 1965. This was only one event in the evolution of rock and roll, and it was only one event in 1965 that changed the face of American music. I thank you very much for joining me for today's podcast. I look forward to speaking to you in the future. You have been listening to the Social and Political History of American Music with your host, Kevin Comtois. I hope to be speaking to you sometime in the future, and keep on rockin'. So I leave you now with Bob Dylan performing It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry.
all night, leaning on the windowsill. Well, if I die on top of the hill, and if I don't make it, you know my baby will. Don't the moon look good, mama, shining through the trees? Don't the brakeman look good, mama, dragging down the double E? Don't the sun look good going down over the sea? But don't my gal look fine when she's coming after me? Time is coming, the windows are filled with frost. I went to tell everybody